We have breaking news in the murders of 4 Idaho college students.
4 students and close friends found dead inside this home.
Ethan Chapin. A triplet born and raised here in Skagit County.
And Ethan Chapin's mom,
Stacy Chapin.
Stacy Chapin, says the family is still trying to process their new normal.
My name is Stacy Chapin, and I'm Ethan's mom.
Stacy, welcome to The Squeeze.
Thank you. It's good to be here today.
We're so thankful to have you here on your first ever podcast.
First ever.
What was Ethan like?
He just was this incredible kid. He just had this warm personality.
Triplets.
Yep, they had each other. I was having a hard time understanding like his being, his spiritual self. Like, what do I do with this kid? My aunt called me and she goes, you know, this might sound funny. Literally just tuck him under your arm like a football and carry him with you. You know what I mean? She was like, until you have time to figure out what to do with him. Physically, I've literally walked grief. He was just the kid that was like one of the very, very best for his siblings.
The analogy of the football. Is he still there today?
Where is he? I'm not sure where he is. He's up in heaven somewhere.
Absolutely.
He's happy.
Stacy, welcome to The Squeeze.
Thank you. It's good to be here today.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited to have you. First of all, we want to say, we're so sorry for what you and your family have had to endure over the past year and a half, but we are so thankful and honored to have you here with us, sharing not only your family story, but Ethan's story on your first ever podcast.
First ever.
No, we're honored. Yeah. I know we've been talking about doing this for
a year,
a while.
Actually, because it was a year ago. I was like, I'm just not prepared to do that.
Yeah, so. Understandable.
Yeah. No, I think the timing was right.
Yeah.
No, finally. So we're excited to finally get to chat with you and everything. But I think Ethan is honestly just a great place for us to start the podcast. Yeah. Can you tell us and our lemon drops, who are our listeners, that's what that's what we call them. What was Ethan like?
Ethan honestly was like everything that you see him in a photo.
Right.
I mean, of the 3 kids, because he was a triplet. I don't know if everybody knows that, but he was kind of the clown, but he was that way from the very beginning. Easygoing, kind. He always had his brother and sister, kind of top of mind. He just had this warm personality. He loved to give big hugs, but he had this momentous personality. I mean, or magnanimous, maybe that's a better word for him. You just kind of loved being in a room with him. And I think of all of the kids and people that have been kind of interviewed through this process, everybody kind of says the same thing.
Yeah.
He just made you feel welcome and you included. And I mean, it goes all the way back to like kindergarten. Yeah. We do this little spotlight on our social media of, talking about kids and people who have been impacted by Ethan's life, and it goes all the way back, to kids in like kindergarten that are just like, even the special needs kids, just everybody was like, he's just like the greatest kid. He was the kid that was like, we're all going out to play on the playground. Everybody's included. I mean, he was wonderful. And even, as close as, November 12th, he was his sister's date, to a dance because he just was that kid, this great, big, lovable, kind, thoughtful. My husband, Jim, is always like, he just kept us all in check. He was the one that could just be like, I don't know, he's just the easiest.
Yeah.
He makes it actually, it's easy to talk about him because he just was this incredible kid. It's hard to understand why somebody like Ethan, kind of isn't here anymore. I don't know how to say that, but
yeah,
it's tricky.
Yeah. No, that's a real way to put it.
Right. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
Not that you wish it upon anybody, but, a kid like Ethan who's touched so many lives and so inclusive and kind.
Such a light to the world.
Yeah.
No, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Was there like a little like mannerism or saying or something that he would do that like sticks out to you that you're like, that's Ethan?
Totally. Okay, this is ridiculous, but when you're walking through the grocery store or somewhere and somebody like taps you on the shoulder to try to get you to turn around and look the opposite direction, like that was Ethan.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
He
me.
would be
Yeah.
like, tink, tink, and I'd go, and he'd go, ha, gotcha, Mom. I mean, it was just, it was always just light and humorous. He was always a kid. He would walk into a room, and I'll tell you who I have said that he reminds me of is Kramer. Do you guys remember Kramer from?
Yeah, from
He just...
What is that from?
from the show.
Yeah. And he walks in the room and is just like, hey, everybody. Yay.
Yeah.
Ethan's here.
What?
Oh, Seinfeld?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I mean,
yes.
just,
Yeah.
Right.
something funny to say and
That's so funny.
just some little guttural funny sound. It just,
Yeah.
he just kept it real in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
that
good
tap is so
reminder,
good.
right? The tap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try to do that one a lot. It rarely works, but it still brings me joy.
Okay. It is. It's funny.
Yeah.
And he could get me. He could get all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm curious about this. And we were talking about it before, but triplets.
Yep.
What is it like raising triplets? I mean, that sounds like
We're scared to do one.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine having to do three
Oh,
at
man.
once.
Honestly, you guys, it's the greatest joy. It's it's an unconditional love that you probably have actually. I mean, it's one thing to like love your spouse but loving your kids, just you have to do it. It's amazing. But raising kids, or raising triplets specifically, I always tell people, I wouldn't change it for the world, but I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it took, we actually, just Jim had to go to work. And so we hired I needed a second set of hands. And it was a little bit like kind of a factory. I mean, they were in the neonatal facility for 20 days and then came home, and it's just literally this like feed, sleep, change, feed, sleep, change thing that it's kind of, but they were just such great kids, always going back.
Yeah.
Such camaraderie, I'm sure.
Amazing.
Like just having each other.
Yeah.
People are always like, surely they, I mean, there was always little sibling things, but they just got along so well.
Yeah.
I don't, we always said in our home, even like going through like, kindergarten through 8th grade or whatever, our kids didn't need friends the same way that other kids need friends. Because at the end of the day, they kind of, they had each other. They always had each other.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
sweet.
They just, and you can raise your kids to be that way.
Yeah.
Kind of protective of each other. Jim was always like, boys, that sister of yours,
Yeah.
you are
I love that.
tasked with protecting her,
Did they do a good job?
They were amazing, honestly. I mean, even when we sent him to college, it was like, you make sure she gets home safe. That's your only goal.
Yeah.
You make sure your sister gets back to her.
Did they want to go to the same school, or how did that, like, I feel like the twins or triplets that I know, they've all gone to different schools. Like, were they all like, we're sticking together? What was the draw?
I don't think that it was a decision like that they sat around and we were like, okay, we're all going to go to school together. It was kind of a process of elimination. They wanted, of course, you're putting 3 kids into college. And so Jim and I were like, I mean, and we had saved and saved. I mean, we wanted our kids to be able to graduate college and not have any debt.
Yeah.
And as a parenting tip, I would say that was one of the best things we've done. Kind of in lieu of like Christmas presents, just send it to the 529 account, right? I mean, we don't need another toy in this house.
Yeah.
Right. But it was kind of just a process of elimination. And so, kind of private school was technically out. We would have loved for them to be a Gonzaga Bulldog. I'm not going to lie. But I mean, it wasn't realistic. And so... Yeah, they wanted a Greek system, and a public school, obviously. And they wanted to be kind of east of the mountains, closer to our Idaho home. Okay. So that was, then you're at Washington State University, Idaho. They were accepted into Montana. You know, and then we just went and walked the campus. It just kind of happened naturally, I guess. And it was wonderful as parents. I mean, like when they all decided that's where they were going, Jim and I were like, we have just become the proudest vandals on the planet. So the Idaho Vandals. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Dang.
yeah.
That's got to be nice walking into campus with your like two peeps, because like I'm sure like I didn't really get to do it, but I'm sure like showing up for college, you know, for the first day is intimidating and scary.
And it was amazing for them.
Yeah,
I mean, they were
really
just, it was amazing. I don't know. I mean, I feel so fortunate for the 20 years that we had with him.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we would go back and change. I mean, I'm sure we're going to get to some of that, but
Yeah.
I would go back and actually do exactly what we did again, knowing the outcome.
Wow.
There's literally time. Time is your greatest commodity,
Yeah.
you know.
Amen.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
When preparing for this interview, we've talked with you about the investigation, and you've said truthfully you don't know anything more than what the public knows, and that's just like the truth. Has that been difficult? You know, going through that, you know, just not knowing anything more than what the rest of the world does?
I can honestly tell you, it doesn't bother me. It's not my job. My job is to mom Maisie and Hunter and get them through this thing. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a detective. I'm not the FBI. I feel like the investigation was in very good hands, but it is true. We legitimately don't know any more than anybody else. The affidavit that was issued a very long time ago, which is, you know, is the same thing that we know.
Wow.
I mean, granted, our kids, you know, have some opinions and they have shared those with us. But, you know, as far as true factual information, I know exactly what you know.
Yeah.
And that doesn't bother me. It doesn't change the outcome.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest thing that one of the greatest messages I feel like that we've done in handling this situation.
Yeah.
Nothing changes the outcome. We cannot bring Ethan back.
Yeah.
So you could spend a lot of time there, or you can just realize that and figure out how to move forward.
Yeah.
Where, well, I mean, in full transparency, Lemon Drops a big reason also why we were trying to push this interview was, you know, to hopefully be able to talk more about, you know, about this circumstance. But where, just so we're all on the same page, where does the trial stand now?
There isn't a trial date.
Okay.
They have requested, the prosecutors wanted it this summer, but the defense has asked for it to be next summer. So, you know, you're out as far as summer of 2025.
Wow.
And this took place November
of 2022. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
That would be almost 3 years.
yes. Yeah. So we have a family friend who he's a prosecutor in town. He's a kid I graduated with. And he's just somebody that allows us to check in kind of, you know, regarding, you know, the hearings and the things that go on. And he just is like, just settle in, Chapin family, because it's just going to be a long haul. It's just how this type of trial is going to go. And you don't want mistakes made along the way. So we just have to be okay with it.
Right.
And it doesn't, again, the outcome is going to be the outcome, whether it's tomorrow or 3 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have any, we can't change that part of it. And so you just really have to decide where you're going to spend your energy. And for our family personally, it isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taking care of Maisie and Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are the priority one. And then it's figuring out also how to honor Ethan,
Yeah.
you know, and carry him forward with us, kind of his memory.
Yeah.
And that's where we spend all of our time.
Yeah.
That's evident that
Yeah.
you guys do that.
Yeah.
Will you attend the trial when it finally happens?
No,
Will anyone from your family?
I don't think so. That is met with some criticism.
And that's
Social
just crazy.
media is,
Yeah.
my little PSA is that, the true crime nation is shocking. But at the heart of every true crime situation is a family like mine. I mean, that is my PSA. And it is, we do read it and watch it and take the high road not to comment on it. But it is shocking what people have to say.
Yeah.
And the opinions that they have. And honestly, I mean, if I've never responded, and I want to sometimes, but if I were, I would be like, if you're actually saying that, then you did not know Ethan, because he is just such a good soul.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me because you know how people say, like, nobody should judge, parents on how they raise their children, right? Because you don't know the children. You don't live that life every day. So, putting judgment on how people raise their kids is like, why are you doing that? Like, you have no place to stand with that. Now you want to say, like, on how a parent should mourn their child, you feel like you have any place to, like, that is a decision that you and your family are the only people on earth that know how, what is best for you and your family.
Right.
So that's just, I'm sorry that you even have to, like, hear opinions, because that doesn't matter.
Right. And I guess I would answer that question with a question, which isn't a great way to answer a question. But what do we stand to gain by being there?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
So you kind of have
pain.
this,
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
reliving
really,
it all again.
it's going to happen anyways, right? It's going to be out there in the media world. And I just, unless for some reason, we have to be there, I just think that we'll just keep living our life. Not everybody feels that way about it, and that's okay. I just can't, as a mom, I guess, see where we would benefit,
Right.
where any good would come out of it.
It's such a, I don't think strong is the right word, but and mature isn't either, but it's just, I'm in awe that you guys are like that, in that you are able to kind of just put yourself, like, over the situation. Like, I would be so bitter and hold so much anger. And the fact that you're able to be like, it can't change anything, and you're just like, I'm going to live my life and honor Ethan.
But if I was angry, I mean, again, the only people that's going to hurt are Maisie and Hunter.
Yeah.
If mom is debilitated by anger, it just, again, I feel fortunate for the time that we had with him. I mean, God, would I love to have him back? That's a ridiculous question, right? But Jim and I tell this story of, and maybe you've seen me talk about it, but I think it's really important, is about March of 2023. So it was like 5 months, right? We'd put the kids back in school, and Jim and I had kind of gotten into a routine, if you will, of like getting up over morning coffee and, just trying to figure out how we're going to navigate, life in the day. And I was off, and there were lots of tears shed over morning coffee. But then one day we just realized that, we really only had two choices. And one was to just literally curl up and call it a day, which isn't an option. Or, basically from this day forward, we're going to start putting the pieces back together. And literally from that day, we have done that. Get up, take a shower, take a walk, and we got to put the pieces back together here.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I have heard people kind of, that it's resonated. Like, I didn't realize I had a choice. And, our circumstance obviously is extreme, I would say, but in your seasons of life, right? Things are going to come into your life, and you're going to have to go, I kind of have a choice here. I either need to,
it's inspiring,
right? Call it a day, or put the pieces back together and find the most positive things we can out of it.
Such good advice.
Right?
It's so inspiring that, like, what you guys truly went through and are still going through, the unimaginable. And for, for me. Like it's a good reminder for me to be like, hey, like, you know, I still have my loved ones here. Like what do I, like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this day because people like you are still doing it and doing it with such grace. And
Very inspirational.
I mean, we have said, you just have to get up and be the best version of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, go take a walk and get after it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, don't skip over this ad because this product is something that I have been implementing into my daily routine, a small little act that has made such a big difference in my life over the past few years. And that is Seeds DS-01 Daily Symbiotic. It benefits your gut, your skin, your heart health in just 2 little capsules a day. Like I said, I've been taking Seed for years, and the difference that it has made in my gut has been night and day. I had problems with digestion. And honestly, once I started implementing Seeds DS-01 into my routine, it was a complete game changer. Something that I love about DS-01 is that it is travel friendly, and we have a very busy lifestyle. So I'm able to just throw it in my little travel vial that the welcome kit comes with, and I can bring it with me wherever I go. It doesn't need to be refrigerated. It can go with you wherever. If you guys are interested in trying this product, I don't know if there's a product I could recommend you more to try because it has personally made such a big difference in my life. I want to scream it from the rooftops. So trust your gut with Seeds DS-01 Daily Symbiotic. Go to seed.com/thesqueeze and use code 25thesqueeze to get 25% off your first month. That's 25% off your first month of Seeds DS-01 Daily Symbiotic at seed.com/thesqueeze and use code 25thesqueeze. So grief is a very common topic on our podcast. I honestly kind of feel like it's one of the most common ones.
Yeah.
We talk about, I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's just ironic that is one.
But grief, you know, isn't just losing. I mean, you know, it could be a marriage or a dog or I mean, you know, there's lots of different kinds of grief.
Yeah. We were just talking at a taping yesterday about grief that I experienced of, you know, losing out on, you know, my passion of nursing kind of got stripped away from me. The love of it kind of got stripped away, and I was grieving that, but that's a whole other topic. But there is really no like handbook on how to process grief and what that really looks like. What has your journey been with it?
That's a tough question. Honestly, I mean, you're just handed this situation that is really hard. And I think for me, helping myself through grief, well, one, I would say literally physically, I've literally walked grief to the ends of, I remember one day I was out walking and I had my dog with me and I was kind of on this gravel road and I was crying so hard. And I happened upon this woman and she was like, do you need me to call 911?
No way.
Yeah, like, do I need to call help for you? Oh. And I was like, it's okay. You have to understand, you know, you don't get into explaining it or anything. I'm like, I'm okay. I just am just processing something. And, you know, in this little town we live in, my father, who has passed away, there's like a memorial bench. And I would find myself walking at all hours, sometimes in the middle of the night. And I just would walk down and I'd sit on his bench. I mean, I loved my dad. And I would just be like, Pops, I don't know how we got here, man. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just time. It's just figuring out where to put him. You know, initially, and this was actually really good advice that like just days after this thing had happened, I was having a hard time understanding, like, what do I do with Ethan?
Right.
Obviously not his physical self, but his presence and the fact that he was here yesterday and not today. I mean, you know, his being, his spiritual self, like, what do I do with this kid? And my aunt called me, who had been a chaplain at Harborview, which is a big hospital up in Seattle, for years and years. And she goes, you know, this might sound funny, but literally just tuck him under your arm like a football and carry him with you. You know what I mean? She was like, just tuck him with you under your arm and just carry him with you until you have time or the wherewithal to figure out what to do with him. And it was just really something for me that was very profound in the moment. I'm like, okay, I can actually do that. I'm just going to tuck him and carry him with me for right now.
Wow.
Just, you know, and again, I think that can be anything that you're dealing with. I don't think decisions or grief or anything has to be like, we can't qualify it or quantify it.
Yeah.
You just literally put it with you and take it with you and, you know, you process it as you go.
Yeah.
The second thing is, you know, we have all had access to a psychiatrist that we've seen periodically. And again, I'm like, I cannot make sense of this. Like, it's terrible, you know? And she was like, okay, so do you have so this is an analogy. Like, I have a filing cabinet in my head, right?
Yep.
She's like, we're going to pull open that drawer and we're going to create a file and you're going to literally label it things that I will never understand. And you're going to tuck this situation in that folder and you're going to file it and you're going to close the cabinet, not as a way to like make it go away or hide it, but just to put it there until you again have time to kind of process it. It's safe. It's, you know, put somewhere where you just, you know, you can just tackle it later. And I think for me personally, I love talking about Ethan. It's all I have left of him, you know, that's a tricky subject. But you know, it's this evolving thing. I'm incredibly thankful for the relationship I have with my husband. He's one in a million. I mean, that guy, you know, so between the two of us, we have you know, an incredible marriage, and that has been a huge piece of this because you know, he leans on me and I lean on him on those days. And, you know, we just get through it, you know, sometimes, you know, when I'm having a tough time, he literally will be like, Stace, we can't change this outcome. So, you know, let's just keep moving forward on this thing, you know?
Yeah.
I always feel better after I've talked to Maisie and Hunter, you know, they call with some, you know, story. But it's just, I guess my grief personally has been kind of an evolution of, you know, we're a year and a half into this now. And, you know, it's always going to be difficult, I think. But it does get a little bit, tiny bit easier every single day.
Yeah.
You know, you just tuck it and, you know. You know, so I mean, we've done a lot of really neat things in Ethan's memory. I wrote a children's book in the middle of the night one night. I mean, I'm like, okay, if the media can do it, I can do it better. I mean, you know.
We'll get to that one. We'll get to that one for sure. Did you guys find it as a family, I guess individuals and as a family, did you find it hard to process Ethan's death while like the country was just so heavily involved? Like we were talking earlier, and then I was thinking of your other kids. Like I couldn't open a social media app without stuff from this being on there. So like, I guess just that it's not normal when you grieve someone. That's not normal.
Yeah.
And then you have to do it in, you know, with a nation of people who have an opinion about it. Yeah. It's something else. It's been, so I remember one night, just one evening, you just had to shut it off. I'm not on Reddit and I'm not on like TikTok.
Yeah.
We actually had to we have actually a full-time media consultant who, I mean, you guys probably know more about that. Like she has our name. If somebody talks about us, it pops up, and you know, she kind of manages all of that. And I just had to quit looking at it. I mean, I just, you know, but I can remember one night Maisie was just like, oh my God, I have to turn TikTok off. It's shocking how much and just how prevalent people are, how easy it is for people to have an opinion on this thing. It's amazing. Yeah. It has been a real lesson in honestly taking the high road.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't going to do you any good to argue with anybody on social media, right? I mean, you know, so we just did it. We just did it. Jim isn't on social media at all. So he actually hasn't seen any of it. And so I'd be like, Jim, you need to know this.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm actually better off not knowing it.
Right.
Right. I mean, but it's shocking. And we think probably as we get closer to the trial that it's all going to come back. Right. Like it's going to just be the same,
People start
every night.
talking about
but
it.
we would sit and watch the local news, kind of, what they had to say about it. But we also had people embedded, all of the police and everybody, they would call and, we were well informed, I guess.
Yeah.
Regarding, whatever was going on. But
Yeah.
I would imagine that, like this social media and just like the news and people talking about it, I would imagine that would be the most difficult for Maisie and Hunter. I mean, just being that age and like just the way that
They probably, I mean, I don't know your children, but they're probably on the app if they're like other kids their age, making TikToks, posting on Instagram,
Normal.
doing the normal
But you
social
can't
media
do
thing.
the-
The kids actually aren't. I mean, I just was looking at their social media, and actually the very last post that Hunter made was of he and his brother, and he has put nothing on social media since.
Oh wow.
And Maze is kind of the same. It's just, they're conscientious kids and, like, and I know we're going to talk about putting them back in school, but that was really a safe place for them. It was funny because we'd moved during COVID from our family home.
Okay.
And because, our kids were going to college and it was kind of anyways, and that's where the media went because they were able to dig up our old address and the poor woman who bought our home.
Oh gosh.
Nobody came to find us way up in the woods of North Idaho, which, we would go there for kind of some solace, I guess, if you will. And our other home is, owned like by an LLC. So nobody could find us. But we're a regular family. Kids played soccer and sports and it was, we were just literally genuinely. And then all of a sudden we were the top news story in the nation.
Yeah.
And still potentially, if things come up, still is.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just have to talk your kids through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like anything.
Lots of communication helps.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about the school of it all, I know that's been one of the bigger comments and opinions was putting Maisie and Hunter back in the same school that Ethan went to.
Yeah.
Was it ever an option for them not to?
No.
No.
We just had to go back and finish what we started.
Yeah.
You kind of hate to go there, but there's Ethan. That's exactly what he would have wanted.
Yeah.
He was just the kid that was like one of the very, very best for his siblings. And so, 60 days had gone by, not that you're thinking about it during that time, but in hindsight, when we reflect on that, when we got to about, 45 days or I don't know when it was exactly. And, I'm telling the kids again, put your dishes in the dishwasher and start, put your laundry away. I think that they were like, okay, sitting around staring at one another wasn't getting us anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got college kids who have to go back and, kind of just pick up the pieces and finish where they started.
Yeah.
They have incredible friendships. We knew we had the support of the community and the university. And even, we had to have really serious conversations about, they're 20. So it was like, you can't go back and drink this thing away. Mm-hmm. You can't go back and whatever, sleep, eat, drug, sex. Whatever. You have to understand, you can't just, that isn't going to get you anywhere. And so, we had lots of things in place to ensure their success.
Wow.
And so, we let them take a little bit lighter class load. And with all of the support system. So the greatest thing, when we made that decision, of course, the mom and me was like, oh, I'm going to move to Moscow, right? I told the kids, I'm like, guess what, kids? I'm going to move to Moscow with you.
Right.
You won't even know I'm there.
they're like, sure, Mom.
Maisie was like, that's a little excessive. As much as I say you won't know that I would be there, I totally would be that mom that would be like, as they're walking out of science class or whatever. Hi, Macy. So what Jim and I agreed to do for the whole semester was to go every other weekend.
Okay.
And we would get an Airbnb or something, and we would cook for all the kids and have them over. And it was literally, in hindsight, one of the greatest things that we did, because not only was it like eyes on our kids, but it also became a gauge, because as we got later into the semester, less kids would come. I mean, we would feed any kid that wanted to come and eat. And there was lots of kids there at the very beginning. And then by the end of it, there would be less and less kids. Eventually, getting into springtime, one of the Maisie or Hunter called, and they were like, so we kind of have plans this weekend. And so I don't know if we would even see you if you came. And Jim and I were like, that's the greatest call that we've taken.
Right.
Because it was a moment where we were like, the kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
They're back in the system doing social things. And, it was a wonderful gauge for us. We were like, okay.
Wow.
We're going to be okay.
That got me emotional.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes so much
it
sense.
was wonderful, right?
Yeah. Because that's all you could hope for and wish for.
Oh my God. Every single day still, every little plus is like, okay, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the smallest of things, I'm sure.
Maze can call and be like, yesterday she had some plans last night, and I'm like, okay, that does my heart good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for sure. When it comes to grief, I myself haven't, luckily, but it's going to be difficult whenever I do all of a sudden have to deal with it. But I haven't had to deal with much grief in my life at all.
Right.
Like, I still have all of my grandparents. And I always wonder, what do you say to somebody? Like, what's good to say to somebody that's going through, that deep grief? And what do you not say? Is there, in your experience, is there anything that has been nice to hear and vice versa? Something that is unhelpful?
Well, I don't, how do I want to answer that question? There's a couple different things I want to say. I don't know that I have a specific answer for that. People make a funny comment and don't realize, like, I'm even conscientious of the word die. Like, oh my God, I would die, right?
Right.
You don't realize how many times you say that until that word becomes this little trigger.
Means something.
Yeah. And so I think people are a little bit conscientious about what they say kind of in front of us. I do think that there's a lot of people who are like, well, I can't complain to you because literally my complaint is literally nothing.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that, but that's also life. Say and talk and do the things that are important to you, because we still care as much as we did before. We just have been through this incredibly difficult thing. The study of people has been interesting through this. Like, Jim and I often talk about people that we can feel them. There is a sense of people who just show up and you're like, God, I can feel their genuine love or support of our family. It's incredible. Yeah. And so I think that's a big piece of it, is just being genuine. And sometimes, like my best friend who, I would be lost without her, to be honest, but she just doesn't even ask questions. She just shows up and does it.
Just there.
Just show up. And that would be another piece of advice. It's just literally just show up.
Yeah.
The night that we, rolled in with our kids to our Laconer home, which is where like the services and stuff were held. My husband and I bought a house that was more of a, empty nester house. It wasn't ever meant to, have all of our kids come back and stay. Our Idaho home was always going to be that. And we got home that night, and you know, Suze had rolled in and of course bought every blanket at Bed Bath and Beyond or whatever, and inflatable beds and, you know, sheets and pillows and, you know, and that was one of the greatest things, honestly, was being able to tuck our kids in that night, you know, instead of throwing them on the floor in a sleeping bag. You know, she just knew. She just thought for a minute about, you know, and kind of created a meal train or whatever, which in hindsight was probably great, because the last thing you think about is, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? I mean, it's, you know, so a lot of it is just showing up, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
We were given some really good advice too about don't ever let Ethan be like the elephant in the room. So, you know, again, talking to a counselor, she was like, you know, I think a lot of people, especially when we, you know, had first seen them, you know, post incident, I think they were kind of afraid to bring it up.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have to say, it's okay to talk about Ethan. I mean, it's okay to ask us questions if you have them, or, you know, let's just throw this out on the table. But also Jim and I are conscientious of, you know, our friends or, you know, people walking away from it and being like, oh my God, we have to go to the Chapins tonight. All they're going to do is talk about Ethan. I mean, you know, also we don't want that to be the case either.
Well,
It's kind of a delicate balance. So we actually, you know, now are very comfortable with saying, you know, you're more than welcome to talk about Ethan. I mean, it's my greatest joy. Let's talk about Ethan. I mean, you know, unless we're talking about Maisie and Hunter, right? I mean, and, you know, if the conversation doesn't go that way, then that's okay too. But, you know, it doesn't need to all be all about our situation, because everybody else's life is still, you know, important and moving on. So,
yeah. If you are one of those people that can spot a too good to be true health hack from a mile away and read labels like it's your job, well, congratulations, you are a skeptic. And although that word is sometimes met with a negative connotation, when it comes to vitamins, being a skeptic about what you put in your body is truly so important. And that's why my multivitamin that I take every morning is my Ritual Essential for Women 18 and older. I've been incorporating Ritual's multivitamin into my routine for a minimum of 6 months now, and I have been loving it. Something that I love about these multivitamins is they have like a minty essence to them in every bottle. So when you're like taking the pill, it kind of is like a little minty, and it helps you not think about the fact that you're taking a pill. Because if you're like me and don't like taking pills, it could be a struggle to be consistent with taking a multivitamin. So that's something that really keeps me accountable, because it helps me not think about it. But it's a clinically backed multivitamin for women 18 and older with high quality and traceable ingredients that are in clean, bioavailable forms. There's 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules per day that optimize your body's absorption. Something else I love about Ritual is they are a female-founded B Corp, meaning they are holding themselves accountable to not just their company's financial health, but also the health of the people and our planet. So no more shady business. Ritual's Essential for Women 18 and older is a multivitamin you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/thesqueeze. Start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18 and older to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/thesqueeze for 25% off. One of the ways that you guys have kind of chose to tackle your grief is by keeping Ethan's memory alive, by talking about him. You guys do that one from your foundation, Ethan Smile, but also you wrote a book called The Boy Who Wore Blue. What made you decide to write this book?
Honestly, you know, initially, all of a sudden, I mean, you guys have you have way more experience in this, but all of a sudden we were getting these notifications that, you know, pretty well-known authors and producers and, you know, these people that were going to tell these stories, or even, you know, like 60 Minutes or something, you know, that type of thing, was going to tell these stories of these kids. And I was really struggling with the fact, why does somebody who doesn't know my son get to tell this story?
Yeah.
I mean, it was an issue for me. And so my friend sent me this notification of this author that was going to write the story. And I just, you know, people, you know, it's also, you know, profiting off of our kid. I mean, it was really a hard thing, but we had to go get a lesson in, you know, First Amendment rights in the media, and essentially they can, right? So we really had to process that for a while. But anyways, it was like, if they can do it, I can do it better. And I have a story to tell about this kid because he was incredible and the world needs to know. I mean, I have often said, if I can touch as many lives in my lifetime as he touched in 20 years, the world will be a better place. I mean, he just was that kind of kid.
Wow.
And the only thing that I can like equate it to is maybe a country music artist who goes through a breakup and then writes their greatest hit. I mean, I literally was like, I'm going to write my greatest hit right now. And it's the sweetest. The whole book is actually true. The story from beginning to end is true. I mean, it's literally basically a biography.
Yeah.
And the photos in it are all illustrations of real photos from our family.
Oh, wow.
You know?
Wow.
So it was really the message is just about this great kid and just remember to be kind in your life. I mean,
I love that you did that. I mean, it's just like, it's just true. Like, yeah, people can tell whatever story they want to, unfortunately, but the fact that you just
right. I'm certain sitting here that you have all been on the receiving end of that piece of it. I mean, it's shocking,
but not like that. That your situation is so different and so much more intimate and tender, so
Fragile.
yeah.
So I love that you did that. You're like, if anybody's going to tell my son's story,
It's going to be me.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit mama bearish. I mean, don't mess with my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point. So, I just set out to do it. I wrote this. I happened to have one of my running partners years ago had opened a little boutique publishing company. And I called her and she's like,
wow.
oh, we can do this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And then she was like, but you need an illustrator. And I'm like, how do I find an illustrator? So I literally drove to Target. I mean, as any mom would do, right? And I wrote down illustrators' names of children's books standing in Target one day.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Look
how
at
do you?
And then did you reach out to one that you found like that?
That's exactly.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Then I
Dang.
got on Amazon and I look at their social media pages or, and I just picked one and our media person helped us. And
Wow.
she was like, so I have this client who's written this story,
Wow.
She was like, I'm 100% in. I know it. I've seen it in the news. I would love to do that.
That's awesome.
That gave me chills. That's so cool that you literally went to Target and you were like just writing down all you get it done.
What do you do?
You get it done.
I mean, I'm like, well, I need an illustrator, so I better find one.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't have those connections.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome,
I just,
though.
yeah. It mattered to me. This story mattered. I am like, I'm going to figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
You know?
in your way.
Right.
Yeah.
I imagine how therapeutic was writing the book.
It was really therapeutic.
Okay.
I mean, literally anytime I talk about him, I'm one step better. I feel like, I mean, even today is a perfect example, right? I mean, I love talking about him. It's what I have left of him is, being able to talk about, who he was and the impact he had, over 20 years. He was just, he's just a great kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What did you ask me?
Oh yeah, how
Sorry.
therapeutic writing of the book was.
Yeah,
'Cause
it was
it's probably difficult too.
Yeah. I mean, it was cathartic in ways that it was kind of wonderful. I would just sit and I just, there were just pieces of the story that I had to make sure that, even, because at the same time that, we sit here and we honor Ethan, I can never forget about Maisie and Hunter. So it has to be like equally, so it also had to represent them well, and I would send the cutest little illustrations of them and be like, oh my God, look at you in the book. And they were,
Oh my gosh.
But it's good. Everything that we've done, but I wrote that a really long, probably over a year ago now.
Wow.
I mean, I just,
That's so awesome. Where did the title come from?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was his triplet color.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What were all their colors?
Maisie was always in pink.
Yeah.
And Hunter was always green.
Okay.
Hunter green. Yeah.
Cute.
So he was the boy who wore blue. I mean, and he was always in blue. And so it's just, it made perfect sense that this whole thing would be. Now, selling a book is actually a very difficult
I don't even know the half. The fact that you even wrote a book, I don't even know how.
I know, but like marketing a book is a whole different ballgame. I think there's people out there that are like, oh, wow, but I just self-published it, which is, it's way harder than I ever imagined, to be honest.
geez.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave a link for all of our lemon drops for you guys to go purchase this book.
Yeah.
It's sweet. Yeah. And then we created the foundation, which is actually the greatest. You know, you have to kind of sit around and think about, what are we going to do with this? I mean, I think there was a nation of people who wanted to help us.
Yeah.
And how do you help a family? And so oftentimes it was given kind of monetarily. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, there was a GoFundMe account and that made me feel weird. And, you know, we were like, what are we going to do with this? And so we just decided that, you know, the greatest gift that we gave our kids was the opportunity to get an education and to at least be able to, you know, have a job or something someday so that you can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
You know, and so we just decided, you know, follow any dream kind of. And so we just decided the best thing we could do in Ethan's memory is to create a foundation that allows kids to go follow their dreams, you know, and it you know, 4-year, 2-year tech. I mean, if your dream is to go be a bartender, then apply for a scholarship to go to bartending school. I mean, you know, anything that just allows you to stand on your own 2 feet and, you know, make a better life for yourself. I mean, that's the goal of parenting, right?
Yeah.
That's really special that you guys are doing that.
To give your kids. So, it's a registered, you know, 501c3 and
That's awesome.
amazing.
yeah, we're about to give our first round of scholarships here coming up. So it should be fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dang.
That's really cool that you guys are doing
I
that.
know. I'm determined to like scholarship everybody, but
I love it.
it doesn't
I know.
necessarily work that way.
I know.
You know, you have to make some good investment.
Tough part.
Yeah. Decisions and
There doesn't need to be an answer to this, but would you say there's any misconceptions about Ethan or your family that you would like to address?
We spent a lot of time together. We took some amazing trips together. We're fortunate for time that we had.
Yeah.
I gave up my career to be a stay-at-home mom. And it's genuinely exactly what you see. I mean, we don't have any ill-conceived, you know. I don't, you know, I just, you know, the misconceptions are only what people can say behind social media.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, is, you know, and I can't control,
Yeah.
you know, you quickly learn that you can't control
Yeah.
that piece of it. And so you just have to, whatever.
Because it always comes.
I mean,
from
I rest
somebody.
easy, let's be honest, because there aren't any, you know, misconceptions that, you know, or whatever. It
Yeah.
is just what it is.
Yeah. If there is one thing that you hope people take away from Ethan's story and from your family's story as a whole, what would that be?
I mean, it would have to go back to talking about the lessons of grief, that you have a choice to get up and be, you know, put your best foot forward, if you will, and be the best version of yourself. You have a choice. It's not an easy one. You know, you have to rely on the people that are there to kind of support you through it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it is what it is. We cannot change the outcome. We cannot.
Yeah.
And so, but I still have to be the very best person to my family and my kids and wife to my husband. And, you know, we're kind of reevaluating what our family now looks like. It looks a little bit different, but we're still great. And, you know, we'll get back to, you know, Jim and I were super excited to be like empty nesters. In fact, I've told this story. Parents' weekend of the kids' sophomore year was how did that go? Nope. November 6th.
Oh,
Parents' weekend.
Oh, wow.
1 week before.
1 week. And it was literally the greatest weekend ever for us. Like Jim and I rolled into town and we loved these young adults that these kids were becoming.
Yeah.
You know, we drank mimosas and went to the football game and laughed, and we loved their friends, and we loved the people that they were becoming.
Yeah.
And Sunday morning when we drove out of town, it's really a moment for us that we have reflected on a lot. As we drove out of town that morning for the first time ever, Jim and I were like, we're damn proud of what we've created. Literally 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears raising these kids.
Yeah.
And we've kind of done it. Not that we were done parenting, but we've kind of done it.
Yeah.
You know, we worked hard to raise really great kids. And it was kind of the first time that we were like, we high-fived each other in the car. I mean, we were like, what an incredible moment. It was kind of euphoric.
Yeah.
And I have said, I hope that all parents at some point in their life, you know, either current or, you know, future parents, that you have a moment in your life where you're like, okay, I'm pretty damn proud of what we've done here.
Yeah.
You know? And we did it. And
That's so awesome.
it lasted 7 days. It's 7 days. Yeah. Because we were like, okay, well, I think, you know, they have each other.
Yeah.
They'll always have each other.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that lasted 7 days. And yeah, during that 7 days, I think Jim and I were like, I think we can start planning our future. I think we can plan a trip somewhere, you know? Let's go spend our life together. I mean, you know, and so, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
7 days.
You guys are just amazing parents, though. It's like you can just like feel it, and I don't know. It's just like
That's literally how I've literally felt. Like, not that you need any validation or to hear any of this from us, but like what you and your husband have done, and you specifically as a mom, like getting to hear the way you talk about your kids, the way you've decided to go about life after losing one of your children. It's just like, I'm just like, I've gotten chills so many times, and I have chills right now. Just the kind of mom that you are is just so awesome. And like, I hope to be, you know, half the mom that you are truly. And I'm not just saying that. It's just kind of crazy. Like these kids got lucky that they had you.
Oh, it's funny. I told you, I was telling you earlier that I gave a speech at the University of Idaho this week. And I literally, part of that was like, our kids have no idea that they hit the jackpot for a family.
Yeah.
I mean, and the funny thing is that prior to losing Ethan, I don't know. I mean, I'm too humble to have ever admitted it, you know, that, you know, because you just do what you do, right?
Yeah.
But in hindsight, the reason why I know that is because of the success of Maisie and Hunter.
Yep.
They are the true measure of our family and the strength of our foundation, because I think even now they know that they cannot fail. And, you know, nor would I, you know, I mean, I'm not talking about menial things. You have to let your kids kind of figure it out. I mean, you know, decisions have consequences, right?
Yeah.
Growing up, you know, you have to let your kids do some of that stuff. But in this specific scenario, I will go to the ends of the earth to ensure that Maisie and Hunter get the very best that this life has to offer them. They deserve it.
Yeah.
They literally deserve. They've been to hell and back. I've often said, I can sit here and talk about what it's like to lose a child. I cannot imagine, I cannot put into words what it must be like for them as triplets. I mean, literally going back to womb mates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What it must be like for them to go through life. And he was the kind of, I mean, I would say, and I think that they would agree, he was kind of the dominant triplet. I mean, you know, all things went through Ethan. He was
the glue.
He was the glue. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's tough for me right now because the most important, I keep telling every time I talk to Maisie or Hunter separately on the phone, I'm like, Maisie's the only sister you have. I mean, you know, it's the only kid, you know, you guys only have each other now, and you have to figure out how to make this thing work, right? Because all things went through Ethan, right? He would call and be like, let's all go.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, let's go do this or let's go do that. And so I cannot imagine. We've just put in place all of the support that we think that they need to be successfs in life. You know,
Yeah.
they have access to doctors and psychiatrists, and our family physician saw them every single week for 8 weeks, I guess, every Tuesday at 4:00. That is standing. You know, you have to do what you have to do.
Well, you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one last question before we do Lemon 7. You talked about the analogy of the football.
Oh, yeah.
And having Ethan right there under your arm. Is he still there today, or where is he? Do you still,
I've not been asked that question. And it might make me, I've held myself together.
Take your time.
No, that's a good question. You just, because his physical being, it's funny. We tell this story of like what to do with him. Yeah. His physical, like his ashes, like we all wear him. We all had like custom jewelry made that they put a little tiny bit of, so, we've just have done things like that. Where is he? He's in a good spot, right? Like he's no longer under my arm. I don't have to carry. I can acknowledge that he's gone. We had an incredible, 20 years together, but, okay. Where is he? I'm not sure where he is. He's up in heaven somewhere.
Absolutely.
He's happy. Yeah. We're glad Xana's with him. We were fortunate to spend a summer with Xana. She was super sweet. Mm-hmm. We've kind of made it a policy to not talk about the other kids because honestly, as a mom, I don't want anybody to talk about Ethan.
Yeah.
I feel very protective. Like I reserve the right to talk about my son. Yeah. And so, but we did, she was beautiful. It's weird. You just think whatever makes you comfortable, right? In the process. And so, the fact that they're together, that's wonderful. I don't know, Yeah. That is an interesting question.
I know.
Yeah. Right. At the time, I just didn't know what to do with him, but you go through this, we're a year and a half out and he, his spirit is up there. It's funny. Jim and I were talking the other day and I didn't realize that we were doing the same thing, but like he drives a half hour to the warehouse where our work is. Okay. And I usually drive, my friend and I hired a trainer to work out, because that's the only thing that motivates me to get out and do it other than, aside from walking the dog. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because we were just the other night, we were like, that 30 minutes that it takes us to drive to town is like 30 minutes that we just try to give to Ethan. Mm-hmm. You play his favorite song or something that, you just go there. You don't want to forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
You just give him a half an hour every day. We genuinely, there's a couple of songs that are tough to get through. Mm. But you don't want to forget him. I don't want to ever forget that he was, such a huge part of our life, but it dims a little bit. And that scares me a little bit. I don't ever want his light to, go out. But so you just look for little things that, try to make you feel better. I think it makes us all feel better that he's, somewhere with Xana drinking a Bud Light Lime somewhere because that was his, I mean, you just hang on to those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. His spirit is up there.
Oh yeah.
Kenny Chesney just came out with that. This is if I had a song, I have two of them actually, because that's one of your 7 questions.
Yeah, that's gonna be there. That's gonna be.
Do you want me to wait?
We can just jump right into it.
Let's jump into 11-7.
Our 11-7. You can rapid fire. You can explain whatever you feel for these questions. Number 1 is what movie or song title best describes your mental health today?
Movie. So it's funny because we are given these ahead of time. And I told Jim, we took this long walk one day and I brought the questions with me and we talked about it. So I would have to say The Martian. Do you remember with Matt Damon?
Yes,
like he literally is like thrust into this place all by himself and he has to just learn to live again. And you just have to figure it out. You just literally have to take whatever resources that you have and start again, start your life again. Right. I mean, to me, that was, that made sense in my mind. So that was the movie that I came up with.
That makes total sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But Kenny Chesney just came out with his new album. I don't know if you've heard it.
Haven't yet. No.
You're going to have to listen to this song. So the very last song on the track is called Wherever You Are.
Okay.
And so the lyrics say, you're not gone, just out of sight. Wherever you are, you're here with me tonight. And it is about losing somebody. And every single word of that song. And it's literally talks about your incredible personality made us all better people. And that is Ethan. Like we all agree he made all of us better.
Yeah.
Is the way he looked at life,
Yeah.
you know. So
That's great. Okay, number 2.
Do you want me to jump back into 2? Because I read your question.
Oh, you did read my question.
We normally do he's the odds and I'm the evens, but
yeah,
I did.
wow, you stole
now
my
we
question.
I did steal his question. Well, I'll get us back on track.
Okay.
Number 2 is how open are you with the people in your life when struggling?
I'm not
Yeah,
Okay.
at all.
neither am I.
I don't want anybody to know.
Yeah,
I mean, my husband knows if I'm struggling. He can pretty much look at me, but
yeah,
I don't know. It feels burdensome. I don't want to burden anybody with my,
yeah.
even under the worst of circumstances, right? I'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, you will.
And it's interesting because Maisie and Hunter, watching them figure this thing out, he's had some pretty extensive, and he needed it. He needed to go through and talk to somebody pretty seriously, which doesn't surprise us. And then there's Maisie who's like, I'll figure out how to get through this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to get this thing out. It is what it is. And I'm like, oh, I wonder who that sounds like.
Yeah. Where'd you get that from?
I wonder who that reminds me of. That apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That is funny.
I don't know if that's good or not. But she's like, I'm just going to figure out how to get through this.
No. Yeah. Well, everybody's journey is different.
It is.
All right, number 3. Oh, we talked about this one. If you could only follow 3 social media accounts, what would they be and why?
Literally, it would be some animal.
Different animal
Somebody
accounts.
raising a little baby pig or a raccoon. I kind of want a pet raccoon. Have you seen those? People have like pet
Really?
raccoons.
Can't they
I'm
be
like,
nasty?
Well, I think so. But, if you follow those little social media accounts.
There's cute, sweet ones.
I guess, yeah.
We just learned about seals sneezing
Seals sneezing.
Oh.
from a
Sneeze?
previous guest. Yes. I didn't
That's
know that.
cute.
And then it just popped up on my social media the other day because the phones are listening.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden
Have you seen the
videos.
otters holding hands so that they don't
yeah.
drift apart?
They're so cute.
Oh, really?
Right? Or
Oh, no.
Yeah, they hold hands or they hook.
I don't think I know that was why, but I have seen them hold hands.
Oh, yeah.
To
they
like
say
keep
so-
them together?
Yeah, so that they don't drift
Aw.
apart at night.
We don't deserve
Listen,
animals.
anything that is any little animal.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
That's it for you. Number 4 is, what is your favorite form of self-care?
Oh, it would have to probably be walking. I don't know. I got a massage last week. I mean, I try to be mindful of. It's important. I mean, I have to take care of myself in order to take care of the.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got 3 other people who live up here in my head. 3 people and a memory that I have to take very good care of.
Yeah.
As the mom.
Do you feel like you also don't have to answer this, but do you feel like when you're getting a massage or like when you're in a moment like that, do you actually feel like it's more helpful and you're able to relax, or do you feel like you start to go into your head?
Yeah, I would say go into my head. Like
Yeah, I was
I'm
curious.
better off just out walking it off.
Right. When it's too
Listening
still.
to nature, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I even do that. It's like,
Yeah.
can't shut the mind off
You
in
can't
moments
shut
like
the
that.
mind off, right?
Yeah.
Middle of the night is a tough one sometimes too. But
Yeah. I bet. Okay. Number 5. What would you say is the most misunderstood thing about you?
yeah, I honestly don't know. I asked my husband that.
That's a great answer.
I'm like, what?
That's great.
I mean,
and you come across like that type of person, which is great because
I'm
you're like,
just going to
what
tell
you
you
see
what
is
I
what
think.
you get.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. I
Yeah.
mean, and you know, it's funny because if somebody's like, could you give me an honest opinion on this? I'm like, do you really want
Right.
an honest opinion? Because otherwise don't ask me because I'm going to give you my honest opinion.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
you know.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't,
This
and
is
that's kind of how we raised our kids too. I mean, we were just like, honest communication, love is shown. It just, you can go a long ways,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah,
Put your dumb phone down. So we can, I used to actually make them lock their phones up on my bedside table.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I love when my kids tell me something and I can call them back the next day and be like, so how did that go? Because what that tells your kid is that you were genuinely listening to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Care about.
Actually, one of the greatest things I did with Ethan, he was such a sports nut. I mean, I know you're a sports nut. He was a sports nut. We were Kansas City fans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I needed to be able to talk his love language.
Yeah.
And so I just downloaded all the sports apps, ESPN,
Stop.
you name it, so that I could call up and be like, oh my God, did you see how many points Klay Thompson shot or made last night? And
Oh
he
my
was a
gosh.
big Klay Thompson fan because Klay Thompson went to Wazoo, to
Oh.
WSU.
Okay.
You know, and man, Ethan, he just lived, breathed, slept sports. He just loved it, you know?
Yeah.
And so in order for me to be like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever
Speaking
the
his language.
trending topic was, I could
That's
just,
a good mom right there.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was even better is if I could call him before he called me. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh
Ooh.
my God, did you see
You got
that?
the news
He'd be
first.
like, I just read that.
I love when I get to do that to Taylor. It
You
brings
do.
me so much
You
joy.
do, because she wakes up before me. So you definitely always do that. I'll like wake up and I haven't read the breaking massive news.
Right.
But I have a text from her going, oh, did you see blah, blah, blah,
Stephon
got
Diggs
traded
to
to
the
the blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
yes,
Oh,
right?
she loves
Right?
being ESPN to me.
I love it. But it's
So
true.
funny.
But it's a good
Yeah, it's a
conversation.
great way to
right?
connect.
It's the same
Yeah,
thing for
yeah.
me and Ethan.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's awesome.
you know, you just have to find the things that your kids love. It doesn't have to be what you love. It needs to be what your kids are interested in. You
Yeah.
know? And so you spend a lot of time there. I mean,
That's really special.
you know.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 is who has had the most positive impact on your mental health?
Oh, easy, Jim. I mean, he knew I was even gonna. I'm like, you know, he knew I was gonna say that. But running in a hot second is our dog.
That's Taylor too.
I mean, honest to God,
Yeah.
They're
That's-
like right.
that's
They're
what I
like
would say.
neck and neck.
Yes.
Yeah, I would
well,
say,
I mean,
yeah.
the dog is literally our sweetest Lolly is
Lolly.
like
Yeah.
coming in really close.
Jim, watch your back.
Really, he knows. Lolly's that way for both of us, but I don't know what we would do without that dog. Oh, man, she's the sweetest. She's the sweetest girl.
That's so special.
Yeah,
I love
right?
that. I love
good.
that.
But
so
it's
much.
good
Jim.
answer.
We just we're so compatible. We're so simpatico, I guess, is probably about a word. I've had people actually say that to me. Like, you're simpatico. And it's like, it's been, I would never want to do this journey without him.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it. I wouldn't want to do that. Let's be honest. I don't want to do the journey.
Yeah.
But there is not an option. You know, grief is a heavy load to carry.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of every day, I'm so thankful for that guy. Holy. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
And the dog.
Yeah. There's a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Last but
Genuinely.
not least, number 7. And you can take this any direction that you want.
Okay.
But if you could go back to
Yeah.
one moment in your life,
Yes.
what moment would that be, and what would you say to yourself?
I don't know what I would say to myself, and it's not necessarily a moment, but it's a day.
Okay.
And just prior to sending our kids back to school their sophomore year, we have this home in North Idaho, and they all work at this resort, Hills Resort, and you know they'd been off playing. I mean, they literally get off work, jump in the boat, go for a surf, whatever. You know, you just didn't see them. They were coming and going. And just prior to them headed back to college, I was one day, I'm like, well, I kind of want all that time with you kids. I declared one day only, 12 hours, Chapin family, nobody else. And it was amazing. I would encourage all parents to do this. Like, I didn't realize it until it was like hindsight, but I'm like, we're going to spend the entire day together. No cell phones. We're going to do all the things. So we started, I have photos of it. We started at like 8 a.m. and it was just the 5 of us. And they even told their friends, they were kind of proud. They were like, oh, we can't do anything today because mom has declared we're going to spend the day together. But I think that they kind of loved it as much as we did.
Wow.
We love these kids that they were becoming, these young adults. The conversation's different. The jokes are funnier. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
So we hiked this hike that they're reluctant hikers. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
But because we declared this day, they got up and
They're hiking.
they were
Yeah.
hiking. So we hiked and then we golfed 9 holes together.
It's a great day.
It was a great day. And we then we got in the boat and we surfed together, the 5 of us. And just laughed and played our favorite songs. It was the greatest. And then we took the family Christmas card for the year, which I never actually used. And then we went to fine dine at the same restaurant where the kids work, but they usually typically work the bar side of it.
Okay.
So we had fine dine that night, and the 5 of us sat out, and it was cute. I mean, our friends were like, "Oh, nope, we know we can't do anything with the Chapins today because it's Chapin Family Day." And I would go back to that day,
Wow.
time and time and time again. It was the greatest day. It was the greatest. I don't. Maybe it was 14 hours. Just the 5 of us. And we did a lot of things, just the 5 of us. Like, we've traveled to some pretty neat places. And the thing I love about traveling, it puts everybody in a neutral place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Your experience, like the rest of life goes out the door and you're all experiencing, that one thing together.
It's not, together.
Yeah.
It's not one person's, oh no, we're going to go here because I've been here before. It's like, let's figure out how to do this together. I mean, one of the greatest trips was down to this little island down in the Bahamas. And, we drove on the wrong side, whatever, the other side of the road. And, all 5 of us are like, okay, watch out, and turn and look this direction. And it's just, you just got to have this experience together. So anyways, so we fine dined that night. And then, it was an amazing day together. So it's not a moment. It was a
great
day.
answer.
But I would encourage all families to just be like, you could, especially as kids get older, go do whatever it is that you want to do. We support and love the fact that you're happy and doing all the things. But mom and dad want one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
And we're so thankful for that day and the pictures that we took that day.
Oh, man.
So good.
I bet.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer.
Right.
And great advice. You've had a lot of very good advice. Yeah, I've learned a lot, but do you have anything else?
No. I'm just so honored and thankful that, you wanted to come sit down with us, and we're so open, and we are just so thankful for you and how you've carried yourself, but also just like you as a human. Like the things you're doing in this world are so awesome. And I thought about something you said earlier, and this is something that I say about a dear friend of mine who I lost at, I think it was probably 7 years ago. I always say with loss comes light. And you were saying, like, if I touched the amount of people Ethan touched in 20 years, and, that would be great. But I think what's cool is the 20 years are still going. It's still 21. It's still going to be 22. Like, even though his physical body isn't here, the things that you and your family have done and are doing, and just Ethan's memory alone, like the people that it's touching, it's going to continue to keep touching people.
And that's the great thing about the scholarship. I mean, and scholarships, that's one way that we could, continue to say. I mean, we've had families that are like, oh my gosh, to be able to go to school on a scholarship that, in Ethan's name, what a wonderful way to continue to honor him.
Yeah.
He was an amazing kid.
Yeah. He seems like it, and I think I see where he gets it from.
Oh, well, that's sweet of you. Thank you.
Very true.
You just have to do your best, right? I mean,
of course.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate it.
Thank both of you. Yeah.
Of course.
Sweet.